Hello! Welcome to Knit Tea Live. My countdown didn't last as long as usual because I kept pressing the go live button and it was like I was doing it wrong. I was just doing it wrong. Somehow I did something wrong. It was user error. Anyway, welcome to Knit Tea Live. Yay! Trying to get back into the rhythm of doing this at least on the last Sunday of every month. And I feel like I'm going to just tell you right now, this live stream might be a little long because we are actually going to go through a pretty extensive story of a alleged consumer scam situation. So buckle in. I have my coffee, I have water, I have backup water. I am ready to go today. I hope I am. I have everything organized. Anyway, welcome to Knit Tea Live for the third time. If you have not already, because we're only a minute in, please make sure to do all the YouTube-y things, like, subscribe, share, all those good things. I just realized that I meant to tweet that I was starting and I hadn't actually sent the tweet. So let me send it now. Sent. If you're watching on replay crew, we do love you. I'm stealing that from LED Baker. I just steal everything from her now. Anyway, but if you're watching on replay, thank you so much for finding time to watch this. And if you want, there are timestamps down in the description box. So if you want to skip around to things, you can. And of course, if you're live, well, you are live. So let me just thank everybody who is here right now. Let me know in the chat where you are from, what are you working on right now, and what you're drinking, because I'm drinking coffee. And yes, let's see. Nice. Esmeralda Peabody Jones. Hey, here for the tea. Pop in popcorn. Yes. I think this is going to be popcorn worthy. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't even think we'll hit on everything because this story we're going to talk about today has been going on for quite a while. But I hope I am pronouncing this right. Marquez. Hi, Carrie. I'm so excited to be here. Well, thank you for coming. I'm so glad to see you here as well. So yeah, let me just dive in. Let's not waste a ton of time. I'm going to warn you right now, there might be times during the live stream where it looks like I'm looking down a lot. And that is because I have an outline for today because I want to make sure that my squirrel brain doesn't go all squirrel. And want to make sure that I hit everything I want to hit today. So there might be times during the live stream where I'm looking down a lot. But to the welcome timestamps. Oh, by the way, as a reminder, super chats are on. So if you'd like to leave me a tip during the live stream, you can. Or not. It's all cool either way. If you'd like to help support my channel, besides the regular ways of doing that, you can also utilize one of my affiliate links, also there in the description box with an explanation what all that means. Okay, got through all the plugs. Have to do it. So today we're going to be talking about something that on the surface would appear to have more to do with the hand spinning world than the knitting world. But I think it actually affects the entire Fiverrverse, hand spinners, knitters, crocheters, anybody who has ever bought yarn or fiber online from a small business, whether it's through a private website, through Etsy, through a Facebook marketplace. I think this story is relevant to all of us. I think it's a really good cautionary tale of what we as consumers need to be careful of when we're getting into these transactions, and also what kind of our rights are and what our recourses could be if we find ourselves in a situation with an unethical seller. Because I firmly believe that most people who are selling online have good intentions, are ethical, have every intention of fulfilling their orders. I think there are times that people go viral, get overwhelmed, don't know what to do, make some poor choices. And then I think there are people who are just kind of underhanded and shady. Okay. But I think the vast majority fall under the first couple of categories. what we're going to talk about today is somebody whose name is Sherry Tenney, who owns Tenney's Fiber Farm. She sells what she calls raw wool. So she has basically a sheep farm. She sells wool that is sheared from her sheep or wool that she purchases from other small farms. She has been in business doing this since at least 2017. And let's just say there's been a lot of accusations of alleged wrongdoing. So much so that the Pennsylvania Attorney General has filed what's called a civil complaint against her. So a civil complaint, it's not a criminal case, but it's a civil case where basically it's like, hey, you've harmed the people of our state and we are going to sue you for restitution. That's basically what a civil complaint is for my layman's understanding, because as I will say many times over the coming live stream, I am not a lawyer. I am just someone who watches a lot of LawTube. but it has got to the point where there have been enough complaints made to legal authorities at the Pennsylvania Attorney General, where Sherry Tenney's farm is located. It's located in Pennsylvania, has filed this suit. So we're going to go through a brief backstory today. We're going to actually look at the filings that are in the case, and we're going to just like break it down today. And it's not all going to be about alleged consumer misdeeds. It is also going to be some fun. I do have a whip to show. I have a finished project to show. So we are going to break up some things with some fun yarn. Don't worry. But this is going to be a lot of the drama today. So let's see. Esmeralda just finished Baroque Pearls beeswax hat. Ooh, literally just wove in the ends and took pics. I didn't bring a pen. I'm going to make a note to myself right now of that, because that sounds delicious. I guess I could go back and look on it on the replay. I meant to grab a pen and paper. Love the drama. So Baroque Pearls beeswax hat. Baroque Pearls. That sounds so cool. Literally drinking tea in sunny Michigan. Is it sunny today? In LA, where I live, it has not been sunny lately, but it has been sunny today. I am so excited. I am so over the rain. I cannot remember the last time we've had so much rain. Okay, making a note to myself. Can't remember. Market, love the drama. Well, yeah, always kind of enjoy the drama a little bit, right? All right. So I have to get to the right thing. We're going to jump into the topic because I feel like this might take a bit of time to read through everything, just to kind of give you an idea of how I'm going to do this. All right. I'm going to give you a quick overview background of the story. Then we'll look at comments and questions. Then I'm going to start going through the filing. And as we go through the filing, I'll have little side quests where I dig in deeper on and show you some material that I have dug up in researching this whole story. Some of this includes some rather interesting voice messages that Sherry Tenney allegedly left to a customer, and various such things. So it's going to be, the filing is going to kind of be like our outline, and then I'm going to show you some additional stuff that's not part of the filing. As I go through the filing, I'm probably going to stay pretty focused on reading through things, and at various points, I'll stop and go back and look at comments or questions and such. That's just to kind of keep me on track for today. As I said before already, I am not a lawyer in this dimension of the multiverse. I think in some other dimension, some other timeline, I might be a lawyer, but I'm not in this one. I just watch a lot of YouTube, but honestly, reading through the filing, I think a lot of it is actually pretty understandable, even to the layman, at least in the bigger picture stuff. So I think we're going to be okay. Second, everything that we're going to talk about today in terms of Sherry Tenney and Tenney's Fiber Farm, LLC, are accusations. They are not proven, okay? In a court of law, she's not been found, responsible for anything legally. So these are all accusations. Anything I say outside the accusations are my opinion, not fact. All right. And in talking about Sherry Tenney, I want to make sure that we stay focused on the behavior and critiquing the behavior and not insulting the person. Okay. We're going to keep it civil here. It's a civil complaint. We're going to keep things civil. So yeah, again, we're going to stay focused on criticizing alleged behavior and not necessarily go for personal attacks on anybody involved in this situation. If you are interested in delving into some of this more, I do have links in the description box to various sources that I have relied on for this. And so you can always dig in further if you'd like on your own. But yes, I have done research. I'm not just flying by the seat of my pants in terms of the information. And I already said I might be looking down a lot. So with all that set up, I'm going to create a new banner because I want to make sure backstory. So we are going to go into backstory. Who is Sherry Tenney? What is this business? What is all this about? This is going to be a big picture overview. We will get into more details as we go through the Pennsylvania Attorney General filing, but this is going to at least get us some bearings if you're not already familiar with this situation. So as I already said, a lot of us yarn throwers purchase online from small businesses, from micro businesses. And, whether it's hand spun yarn, raw wool, comb top, hand dyed yarn, sponsoring a sheep, and then getting some of that fleece from that sheep later on. There's all sorts of ways this is set up. And again, I think that most people are acting in good faith, right? But the thing is, as consumers, we are putting a lot of trust in these small businesses, and we tend to give them a lot of leeway in terms of shipping dates. I mean, my gosh, it's March, and there are already listings of pre-sales for Advent yarn calendars in December. Like way, way, way down the road. Those sorts of pre-sales and purchases are well outside what is usually would be considered a typical shipping window for your average consumable item. Like going through this, I learned myself that if a listing doesn't give you a specific shipping date for an item, then the default shipping date is 30 days from purchase. And that actually legal. So I didn't even know that. Something I learned. And so we are oftentimes, as yarn throwers and fiber fans, purchasing stuff with much longer windows, but it's because we understand that we are getting something that is handmade. And as people who hand make things, we understand the time that it takes to hand make items. So we give a lot of leeway. But I think because we give a lot of leeway, it means that when we feel like we've been taken advantage of, we get real, real mad. Knitters have a reputation. Let's put it that way. Knitters in particular have a reputation. So I first heard about Sherry Tenney and Tenney's Fiber Farm about a year ago. A friend of the channel, Jillian Eve, she alerted me to this Tumblr blog post about Fleeced by Sherry Tenney. And we'll be looking at some blurbs from that blog post. That blog post is linked down in the description box if you want to read about it yourself. And I'll be honest, I thought about covering it back a year ago, but I was really busy. I just didn't feel like I had the time to really delve into all the details of this story. And also just hearing some of there were accusations of very hostile communications with Sherry Tenney that frankly, I just wasn't emotionally prepared to deal with. But a couple of months ago, it was announced that through various fiber accounts and channels on various platforms that the Pennsylvania AG had filed this civil complaint. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I think this is worth covering now, because it's not often that something like this actually reaches the level of a state attorney general filing a case against someone and asking for some of the remedies which he is asking for, which we will get more into those specifics. So I was like, okay, let me look into this now. So the main place where a lot of this accusations have come about and a lot of the information is coming from that I have relied on is the Tumblr blog, but another group. It's a Ravelry group called Demon Trolls, which is a tongue-in-cheek name. But if you haven't heard about Demon Trolls is a consumer advocacy group on Ravelry. They also have a subreddit called Deraveled Trolls, which is linked down in the description box. I did not link to the Ravelry group because I generally do not link to Ravelry. But if you do want to look at that thread, you can go to the subreddit and find all the links to get to the Ravelry group as well. But Deraveled Trolls and Demon Trolls, it's the same group of people running it, and they have been having discourse about Sherry Tenney for over a year now. And some of the accusations on Demon Trolls is wild. Like, some of it is just wild what has been alleged there. And we'll get into some of those details as we go along. But from what I can suss out, Sherry Tenney has been selling fleeces and raw wool online since at least 2017. She was selling through a private website called tennysfiberfarm.com. Originally, it was a Woo site. Then about, if I recall correctly, around 21, she changed it to a Shopify store. She also has an Etsy shop, and last I checked, it is still active. And she also sells through private Facebook groups. And this is where a lot of things have gone on, is these various, she has a ton of fiber. She has a bunch of private Facebook groups, and we're going to go into more details about that and how it has factored in to what may be some less than savory business practices, allegedly. We're going to go into more of that as we go through the filing. But there are a long list of complaints. As I said, Demon Trolls has been tracking her for over a year now. And I'm going to pull up this list. Oh, I hope I have it. Did I put it? Sorry. Okay, I just got to do one thing real quick. Sorry. I have a piece of media that I forgot to put in the window. Wrong application. And I got to put it in for it to make sense. Demon Trolls has basically put together I got to get to the right folder. Has put together, oh, that's why. Sorry, I got to find it. Date last opened. There it is. Nope. Crumb. Already into this. I'm looking so professional right now. Date modified. There we go. Here we go. This is what I wanted. This list I'm going to show you is from the Demon Trolls thread, but I retyped it so that it's not a screenshot from Ravelry. If there's anybody who has concerns about that, I just want you to know this is not a screenshot from Ravelry. This is something I typed back up. Oops. Just have to get back here. And we're going to add, there we go. Okay, so this is a list of what Demon Trolls are calling confirmed scammed methods used. Now, I want to be very clear, it is Demon Trolls that labels it as confirmed scammed methods used. I think that they believe that these are confirmed based on the reports that they've gotten through their thread. I would say that they're alleged, but again, this is what they have typed up. And They're alleging that these are things that Sherry Tenney has done to scam, in Demon Troll's words, customers. They've done giveaways they've announced, Sherry Tenney, stop think talk. Sherry Tenney has announced giveaways, but has never held them, or prizes weren't sent. In fact, there is one story from somebody who was really interesting. It was a customer. She had ordered this customer had ordered from Sherry Tenney a second time. The order hadn't come in. The customer was trying to get in contact about finding out when her order would be fulfilled or get a refund. And Tenney then came out and said, I'm going to give you this $400 prize because you're my 500th order through my new Shopify. Only Sherry Tenney never gave her the prize. And if I recall correctly from the story, she never received her second order of materials. Why does that matter? Why would that be considered potentially a scam? Well, I should have changed that. I think you might consider that a scam in that if you are on a Facebook group and you're having these private communications with the customer about unfulfilled orders or orders that weren't filled correctly, but then publicly in your Facebook group, you're like, I'm giving things away. It gives this impression that the seller is going above and beyond, right? Just fulfilling orders, right? And it's kind of whitewashing what might be going on behind the scenes. So I think that's why Demon Trolls considers this scam behavior. Again, using their words, not mine. I am reporting what Demon Trolls is saying. But more obviously, kind of behavior. Sent product. So when sending products, shorting the weight of the product, the merchandise would be damaged. Sometimes it'd be the wrong product. Sometimes it'd be what's called an unapproved substitution. So if you order something, say you order a red lunchbox, if the seller sends you a green tote bag because they ran out of blue lunchboxes, well, they actually haven't fulfilled the order. They would have to contact you and say, look, I don't have that lunchbox anymore. Can I give you this tote bag instead? And you'd have to be willing to accept that substitution. And if you didn't, the seller would have to refund you your money. So if somebody just sends you something that's not what you ordered, that is not fulfilling the order. This is something, by the way, that came up a lot when I was doing my video on Mystical Creations yarn. If you haven't watched that video, I think it's a hoot personally. I will, after the live stream I'll link it down in the description box. But yeah, this is something that happened with Mystical Creation yarns a lot, where they would be like, oh, you ordered pink yarn, here's green yarn. That's kind of a made-up situation, but representative of what would go on. Other things. Aliases, we're going to go into more on that, but Sherry uses a lot of aliases and sock puppet alternate accounts to hide or confuse who is saying or doing what. They are all Sherry except for one person, Suzanne Collier. We'll talk more about this as we go through the filing. But yeah, there are a lot of aliases, and not just aliases for Sherry, but also a lot of different Facebook groups that she has worked through. So again, we're going to talk more about that as we go through the filing. General, deleting posts to hide what was ordered, messenger orders, block and delete when customers ask for updates or discuss moths. Yes. Oh, there's a whole story about her sending fleeces with moths and moth larvae. If you're horrified right now, of course. And claims partnerships with other companies that she does not have. So those are kind of what Demon Trolls has been accusing Sherry Tenney of doing. The moths is real bad. That's real bad. Like, it's real bad. And there's more than one story. There is more than one story on Demon Trolls of a customer receiving a fleece or raw wool with moth larvae. And if you've ever dealt with a moth infestation, it's so devastating. It is so, like, one of the most important things I ever knitted got eaten by moths, and I, to this day, can barely talk about it without crying. Like, it's just horrific. Face blue, wide eyes. Yes. Yes. Hello, Kathleen. Welcome. So glad you're here. But right? It's horrific. It's just horrific. So yeah, that is kind of the big overview. And as we go through the filing, there is a general pattern to what would go on. There's specific crazy things, but the general pattern of what seemed to go on with Sherry Tenney, and I'm not claiming that Sherry Tenney never fulfilled any order and that every order that she sent out was, shorted, damaged, had moths. No, but there were certainly enough of them that she was gaining a reputation online. And then how she was dealing with that is a little bonkers, in my opinion. But general pattern, however, was that Sherry Tenney, somebody would place an order, for whatever reason she couldn't fulfill it, nothing would get sent out. Maybe she would put a photo of a shipping label up on Facebook, but the order still wasn't, the customer still wasn't receiving it. Customer would reach out to either Sherry or her assistant, colleague, Suzanne Collier, and they would basically give the customer a runaround. It was like, oh, I'm delayed because of this. I'm delayed because, I'm not kidding. Either it was the post office lost it. Nobody's ever had such bad luck with the post office as Sherry Tenney would have you believe. But the post office lost it, or something crazy had gone on in her life. Her father was ill. Her farm experienced a microburst. If you don't know what a microburst is, the best way I, as a non-meteorologist, would describe it is like, it's like a tornado without the funnel. But yeah, a bunch of lamb dying because of a microburst on her farm. That was an excuse. There were lots of excuses. But yeah, and I have heard that excuse, by the way, is one, and I'm not saying it's real or not real. I don't know either way. I'm just saying that is something she has claimed. I listened to video of her talking about it. So, but some kind of excuse. And saying, I'm going to ship it in this amount of time, and then nothing, and then nothing. And then either Sherry or her Suzanne Collier stringing the customer along until the dispute window with the credit card company was closed. And I mean, like, stringing people along for like 16 months. I am begging you from the bottom of my soul that if anybody ever strings you along for more than 2 months, without a resolution to an unfulfilled order, put the dispute in with your credit card company. All right. Credit card companies, the window for disputes varies. Legally, I think the minimum days is 60. That's like legally, every credit card company has to have like 60 days that you can dispute a charge. And the countdown to that starts either with when you receive the item or the shipping notice, or when you make the order. That I can't quite remember. I was reading about this late at like 1 a.m. last night. But 60 days legally you have. But most credit card companies actually have longer windows than that. Most of them have 120 days. So a couple things. One, make sure you know with your credit card company what their dispute window is. Two, use whatever credit card has the longest dispute window is the one that I would personally use if I was doing business with anything like through a Facebook group or anything like that, just to give myself enough cushion to dispute the charge if something happened. But you will find this with people. Unethical sellers will string people along until that dispute window is closed, because at that point, the credit card company is like, you waited too long. You waited too long, and then you're just out the money. So don't let somebody string you along for more than like if your dispute window is 120 days, don't let them. That's 120 days. That's 5 months, right? No, I'm sorry, 120 days. I think that's like 3 months. 4 months. It's 4 months. Don't let anyone string you along for more than 3 months. That's all I got to say. Unless you really trust them. Look, if you trust them, then, that's fine. But that is a really long time. 16 months waiting for an order. I would die. I would just die. All right. Oh, okay. So who is ready? I am. I know I am ready to start looking at the filing. So here we are. Holy sheep. We're about to look at the case against Sherry Tenney. We are going to, like I said, we're going to read through the civil complaint. Feel free to comment or ask questions as we go along. Again, I am not a lawyer. I just watch a lot of LawTube, but maybe we can help answer our questions together. I'm going to read through, and at various points, I'll stop and sweep back through questions and comments. So let's do it. Again, I'm going to be looking down a lot because I got to read my screen. In fact, I'm going to, let me just increase this a little. Make sure that you can see that okay. All right. By the way, just so that you know, I have redacted, there were already some redactions, but I've redacted any personal information that in the document, and I have various sections. You're going to see yellow underlines. Those are my underlines that I did for myself to make sure I didn't miss those things because I thought they were particularly interesting or I want to talk about them. So we first have this front page. This is the filing. It was filed on December 30th. By the way, just to give you a quick timeline, Sherry, the state of Pennsylvania filed against Sherry on December 30th I wrote these dates down. Where are they going? Here we go. Shoot. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I was looking for some information I wrote down. So the case was filed on December 30th. Sherry, the sheriff's department in her county, Franklin County Sheriff, served her the complaint on January 13th. Her defense lawyer has filed a response with some objections, which we will look at. That won't take long to go through. And there is a hearing scheduled on the matter for oral arguments. I'm going to guess around the defense objections, but there is a defense schedule, or a defense. There is a hearing scheduled for April 4th. So if anybody lives in Franklin, in or around Franklin County, Pennsylvania, if you're interested, you can go probably to the courthouse and sit in on that hearing. It's on April 4th. In court will run I believe around 10 a.m. if I remember correctly. I can look it up again, the exact time, or you can look it up yourself. It's not hard to find if you have the case number, which I do because the case number is here on the filing. Sorry, I gotta get to the right window again. Here we go. This front page is just kind of a summary of what's going on. So it gives the lead plaintiff, which is from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Attorney General Josh Shapiro. The lead defendant's name is Sherry Tenney. Money damages requested, yes. And the dollar amount that's being requested is outside arbitration. So this cannot go to arbitration. This is not a class action lawsuit. This is not an MDJ appeal. Like, it's not being appealed right now. And when it asks you to check off the nature of the case. And down at the bottom in the lower left, there's this little check mark going other equity, consumer protection. So this is about consumer protection. So we're going to scroll to the next page. Yada, yada. Notice to defend. This is the very first thing past the front page. You have been sued in court. So this is basically, this filing is to Sherry. So it's speaking to Sherry or her representative. And it's actually very stern. It's like, you have been sued in court. If you wish to defend against claims set forth in the following pages, you must take action within 20 days after this complaint and notice are served by entering a written appearance personally or by attorney and filing in writing with the court your defenses or objections to the claims set forth against you. Interestingly, from what I read, it didn't look like Sherry Tenney attorney entered any defenses to the claims, just objections. You are warned that if you fail to do so, as in you fail to file an objection or defense, the case may proceed without you and a judgment may be entered against you by the court without further notice for any money claimed in the complaint or for any claim or relief requested by the plaintiff. You may lose money or property or other rights important to you. So basically, like, get to the court. Let us know what your defense or your objections are. And then it gives in bold, all caps letters, information about finding an attorney if you can't find one or if you don't have one. So, next page. I'm going to skip past the header, the complaint. This I love, by the way. I love this. I feel like court filings sometimes are like a little extra in how lawyers have to speak to the court. And now, doesn't that feel a little game showy? And now, entering the arena. And now comes the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania by Attorney General Josh Shapiro, hereinafter Commonwealth and or plaintiff, and brings this action against Sherry Tenney individually and Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC, hereinafter defendants. So it looks like they are bringing this case against both Tenney as a sole person, an individual, and against the LLC that she formed for Tenney's Fiber Farm. This is going to be noted later on in the complaint, but Sherry Tenney is the only proprietor of Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC. But anyway, I digress. Pursuant to the Pennsylvania Unfair Trade Practices and Consumer Protection Law, gives the statute number, hereinafter Consumer Protection Law. The Consumer Protection Law authorizes the Attorney General to bring an action in the name of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to restrain unfair methods of competition and unfair or deceptive acts or practices in the conduct of any trade or commerce declared unlawful by Section 201-3 of the Consumer Protection Law. So right off the bat, the state is saying, hey, this law enables us to bring this civil complaint forward. The Commonwealth, this is important, the Commonwealth has reason to believe that defendants are using or has used methods, acts, or practices declared unlawful by the Consumer Protection Law, and that the public interest is served by seeking before this honorable court a permanent injunction to restrain the methods, acts, and practices of the defendants as hereinafter set forth. Further, the Commonwealth requests restitution, civil penalties, costs, and other appropriate equitable relief as redress. So, it's like, we think she's done some shady, and the shady is not legal, and we are here to get restitution and have her stop being shady. That's my layman. That's my layman interpretation. Stop being shady. You need to pay up for being shady and stop being shady. That's what the state is saying. Parties. So this just goes through the parties to the situation. The plaintiff, the defendant, Sherry Tenney, is an adult individual, gives her address, which I redacted. Then it gives the defendant as Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC, is a limited liability company registered with the Pennsylvania Department of State as Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC with the registered principal business. Again, I redacted the business address. Defendant Sherry Tenney formulated, authorized, approved, endorsed, directed, ratified, controlled, or otherwise participated in the acts and practices set forth within. So basically, all that is a lot of words to say. In every way that you can imagine, Sherry Tenney is responsible for the shadiness that has gone on with this LLC. Defendant Tenney is the sole owner of the Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC. So, line 6, the Commonwealth believes and therefore avers, so sets forth, that the principal place of business address is Tenney's is incorrect and that the current principal place of business is another one. So, okay, jurisdiction. This is just saying, yes, we have jurisdiction based on this law. Venue says this is where they are filing the complaint, which is in Franklin County, is the appropriate place to be filing it. And then we get into the juicy stuff, which is the factual background. I know, legal filings. All right. So this is where I'm going to start getting into the juicy stuff. And again, as we go through parts of this, we're going to have a little side quest to kind of give you some more information that's not necessarily in the filing, but just so you have some bigger kind of context to everything that's gone on with this case. It just seemed like, to me, a good way to sort of organize all of this. So, factual background. Defendants have engaged in trade and commerce within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including Franklin County, by among other things: advertising, marketing, offering to sell, selling, and or contracting with consumers and providing fiber art supplies. So she has done all this in Franklin County, and that's important because the state has to show that they are filing this in the correct jurisdiction, right? And there has to be sort of a place from which the activity has happened that creates the jurisdiction. So they're saying by her being in Franklin County and advertising and marketing and offering to sell and selling this stuff and contracting with consumers, that gives Franklin County jurisdiction in this civil complaint. That's my understanding based on watching a LawTube. Again, not a lawyer. But you know what, honestly, you want to know the truth? Sometimes legalese makes it seem like the law is so impenetrable, but it can be quite labyrinthine at times, but when you break down things, it's usually not as complex, and it usually has more logic to it than you realize. That's just a sidebar with me. I really did want to be a lawyer when I was in junior high, by the way. Defendant sell fiber art supplies through her own personal website at tennysfiberfarm.com, as well as through online marketplaces, including Etsy and Facebook. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on. But fiber art supplies, in quotes, includes raw wool, wool fiber crafts, and specialty premium wool, where defendants, quotes, offer superior wool from my own farms and buy wool from local USA farms. A true and correct copy of the homepage of defendant's website as of September 14, 2019 is attached here too as Exhibit A. I need to check something real quick. So I wanted to take a little side quest real quick on sales from local farms, because this is something with Sherry Tenney that I think falls under the probably lawful but might be awful standard. There's an accusation of how Sherry Tenney even got started with selling her wool online, and some of it feels very, if true, icky. It's the icky standard. So this is from, like I said, there's the Tumblr blog that I mentioned before, and this is a couple of paragraphs in the Tumblr blog, and it talks about how Sherry Tenney kind of hurt other small businesses that were selling wool. So I'm just going to read it. Can I move that out of the way? Yeah, okay. It also came out within the past few days that it's more than just her scamming people. Again, this is the Tumblr blog's wording. I am quoting it. It turns out what her and her group of about 25 others would do is go to seller pages on Facebook, block the mods and admins, and then tell the others that she sold fleece for cheaper and better quality than them. She would poach the customers from small farms, and her and others would purposely, repeatedly report the small farm and their page to get it taken down so they couldn't sell at all. Then, when the farm was desperate, some of these small sellers have reported more than a 50% drop in income, and when she has done this. She would buy the fleeces at cheaper prices from them, mark them up, and then resell them, frequently to the customers she lured away. Given that she would frequently sell the same fleece to multiple people and never ship it, it was a way for her to get a ton of sales with little to no overhead herself. So that is the accusation. The accusation is that Sherry Tenney and some cohorts, some friends, would go to other sellers' pages and Facebook groups, and they would block the admins and the moderators so that they could put messages up to these groups, and the admins couldn't see what they were posting and saying, hey, she sells better stuff for less. Poach the customers, right? And then on top of it, the claim is that the Sherry and her little group, again, accusation, would start reporting that seller to Facebook to get their pages taken down. And basically really harm the businesses, and the businesses would lose money, and then they would end up having to sell fleeces to Sherry to get any income at all. So if that is true, oof, that is nasty. That is a nasty, nasty thing to do if it's true. Again, this is an accusation, not proven in court of law. It's just what has been put out to the universe by others. So that's why it's interesting that one little sentence from my own farms and Bible from local USA farms is so interesting, because there's so much more story in that and what might have been going on with Sherry Tenney. All right, so line 12. Since at least October 1st, 2018, defendants advertised to consumers through their website, Tenney'sFiberFarm.com, that they ship out over 40,000 pounds of local wools at highly reduced prices to allow the fiber community to be able to afford to try new breeds and make fiber arts affordable again. So interesting. That, by the way, is a quote. The quote is, ship out over 40,000 pounds of local wool to highly reduced prices. It makes you start to go, oh, I'm sorry, I should have made that screen bigger. It makes you start to wonder, like, if she's really putting out all this wool at highly reduced prices, how is she making any profit at all? I mean, there comes a point where you're selling something at such a low price, you're losing money, right? Or the margin is so small. And if that's what she was trying to do, sell wool at such small margins, then yeah, it kind of makes sense why she might start getting behind, because she couldn't actually keep up with the demand because she's not selling it for a good enough price. Or she was just running a con, allegedly. I don't know. I don't know if she was someone who started out in good faith and then just started going into a very gray, shady area because she was falling behind, or if she just was, a scammer from the get. I do not know. All I know is what the accusations are. Between 2018 and 2021, back to the complaint on page 13. I'm sorry, I'm on line 13. Between 2018 and 2021, defendant's website failed to provide any disclaimers or policies to buyers concerning refunds, cancellations of orders, shipping, processing delays, or any other pertinent information following a purchase of defendant's products. So this is a really good moment to stop and go, okay, lesson here for all of us, red flag. When a company doesn't have any policies up on their website regarding shipping or refunds, probably want to be wary. Probably want to be wary of purchasing anything from them, because that doesn't mean, by the way, that you don't have rights. You might still have civil rights in terms of access to refunds or shipping expectations. As I learned through this, if a product doesn't give an exact shipping date, then it's assumed that they have 30 days to get it to you. But if somebody isn't kind of doing those bare basics of business, having a shipping policy, having a refund policy, they probably don't know what they're doing at best. At best, they don't know what they're doing. And really, you want to work with businesses that know what they're doing as a business, because that's how people get themselves in trouble, is that they don't know what they're doing. In or around January 1st, 2021, defendants changed their website by changing marketplaces from .woocommerce to Shopify. A true and correct copy of the updated homepage of defendant's website as of around January 1st, 2021 is attached here too as Exhibit B. The updated website included both a shipping policy and a refund policy. And the shipping policy and refund policies were real, like, vague, in my opinion, my non-legal opinion. But let's go to line 16 where they talk about it more. Defendant's shipping policy states processing time varies and estimated shipping times as 3 to 5 business days in North America. There is a true and correct copy of Exhibit C. Defendant's refund policy indicates an order may only be canceled within 6 hours of purchase. Oh, saw that. Reading her Yelp reviews right now, the website is down. Oh, okay, good to know. Because when I looked, it was up, but maybe it's gone down since I've seen. But it could be another website, because that's the other thing about with Sherry Tenney. There's so many like Facebook groups and websites and stuff that it's like, which one are you talking about? It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, the Yelp reviews are not kind. Defendant's refund policy, 6 hours to purchase. So you got 6 hours to change your mind. 6 hours. It's such a random time to me. Like, why 6 hours? Like, why not 24 hours? It's just weird to me. They'd be like, you only have 6 hours to change your mind. Did she figure out? This is total speculation. Speculation alert. Speculation alert. Did she figure out that people tended to buy late at night and then would go to bed and be asleep for 8 hours? So 6 hours, they'd be asleep. I don't know. I just find it such a strange window to cancel an order. And provides for a 30-day policy for returns. A true and correct copy of defendant's refund policy is reflected on our website. So basically, after you got the item, you had 30 days to return it. 18, defendants sold to consumers within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, across the United States, as well as internationally. That's an important line to me because of one of the objections that we're going to read later on. Line 19, consumers purchased fiber from defendants based upon the reasonable belief that the merchandise would be delivered in accordance with defendants' representations on their website. Talks about how they paid. Line 21, utilizing their website, defendants solicited orders from consumers for the sale, word club, for the sale of fiber without a reasonable basis to expect that they would be able to fulfill shipments of the ordered merchandise within the time frame defendant represented, if at all. So the state is claiming that the defendant solicited these orders. So advertised, said, hey, come here, buy wool from me, but had no basis to say, yeah, I can fulfill that order. And the seller should have a reasonable expectation that they can fulfill an order. Because remember, when you order something, you're actually entering into a contract with that seller. And the contract is pretty simple. I'm going to give you my money, and within the time that you say, you're going to deliver me the goods. Like, it's a pretty simple contract when you think about it. But, you're sitting there trying to sell, and you don't have any idea whether you can actually fulfill that order. Maybe you don't even intend to sell the order, speaking generally. Once again, allegations. 22, line 22, defendants repeatedly failed to deliver purchased fiber to consumers within the time represented on their website or within a reasonable time. Yeah, it is not a reasonable amount of time to deliver a product a year after the order. That's not reasonable. I mean, I would dare say that it's not reasonable. I understand why they're doing it. I'm not sure it's reasonable that you have hand dyers opening pre-sales for advent calendars in March. Now, admittedly, everyone understands what they're getting into in that situation, and I understand why yarn dyers are doing it. But at the same time, it's just like, wow, that is a long time. That's just a really long time. It's a really long time. one of the main reasons I don't buy yarn advent calendars. Anyway, line 23. In numerous instances, defendants failed to deliver purchased merchandise. Defendants failed to provide consumers with notice that their purchased fiber would be delayed. So she wasn't telling people that their shipping was delayed. 25, defendants occasionally would provide consumers with revised shipping dates or ranges of time without a reasonable basis for making such representations. So yeah, it's like might go, oh, I'm going to actually ship it in 2 weeks, but had no basis to say that was accurate. It was just like, it was almost like what this reads to me, my interpretation is it sounds like almost going, yeah, sure, 2 to 3 weeks. And then 2 to 3 weeks pass, still don't have it. Like if I'm making this, right? I know how long it takes me to make a pair of fingerless mittens with color work. Like I know how long this is going to take me. If I get delayed for some reason, say a microburst runs through my house, I have a reasonable basis to go, okay, this is when I can start working on this again. And I know I will get it done at that point, right? And what this is saying is that Sherry Tenney didn't even have that. Okay. Sorry, I have to just check my notes every once in a while to make sure I'm not missing anything I wanted. Oh, shoot. Lost my place. Here we go. In situations where in situations where the revised shipping date was more than 30 days after the revised date represented by defendants, or when a definite shipping date could not be provided, defendants failed to offer consumers with an option to consent to a delay in shipping or failed to offer consumers with an option to cancel their order. So this is really important for us to understand as consumers, right? If there is a shipping delay that is outside 30 days windows, the seller has to offer you the chance to basically cancel the order. They have to say, look, I can't deliver this item within the time frame I told you would be available. Do you consent to waiting longer? And you have the opportunity to say no. And if you say no, they need to give you a refund. And they have to make clear that your options are to wait or to take the refund. But they have to offer you both options so that you can make a reasonable choice. Like this is one of your rights as a consumer. And the accusation is Sherry Tenney was not doing that. But it is, again, important for you as a consumer to understand that you don't have to accept a shipping delay. If it's more than 30 days, you don't have to accept a shipping delay. You are well within your rights at that point to demand a refund. Defendants repeatedly failed to deem an order canceled and issue prompt refunds to consumers to whom they were unable to ship within the time specified. So they just left the orders open and they weren't refunding money. Defendants, that's the accusation. So the accusation is that Sherry Tenney repeatedly failed, just wouldn't cancel the order and wouldn't issue the refund. And there are posts on Demon Trolls of people saying, it's like, I've gone onto the Shopify site and it shows that my order is still open and that they haven't canceled it. Line 28, defendants repeatedly failed. Did I already read that? Oh, no. Defendants repeatedly failed to deem an order canceled and issue prompt refunds to those consumers who did not specifically consent to any further delays in shipping. So people who said, no, give me my money back. The accusation is Sherry Tenney still failed to issue the refund. Line 29, when consumers sought refunds for delivered orders, defendants failed and or refused to make prompt and timely refunds and routinely blamed the United States Postal Service, hereinafter USPS, for lost packages without any reasonable basis for such a statement. Basically, the post office lost it is like the dog ate my homework excuse for sellers. Like, oh, it must have been USPS. The problem is, and I'm going a little, this might come up in the claim or not, but there's definitely a lot of reports of people on Demon Trolls who said that when they made an order that they never received a shipping notice with a tracking number. I mean, look, there's a reason, there is a reason that when we order things online, we receive all that shipping information. It's to let us know that it's coming. But it's not just out of good customer service. It is for legal reasons as well, because these are ways that companies are able to protect themselves against claims of consumer fraud, is by like, no, here's the shipping label. And you can track it and you can see through the shipper that, yes, they received it. If at that point it's out of my hands, you have to go to the shipper. It's a way to protect their own business. And so if Sherry Tenney wasn't providing that shipping information and those tracking numbers to people, it's shady. If she wasn't doing it, then it would be shady. Let's see. Line 30. We're on line 30. Paragraph 30. Consumers who contacted defendants inquiring as to their order were directed to speak to defendants' representative, Suzanne Collier, who frequently failed to respond to consumers or provided general excuses for delays. Further inquiry by a consumer as to their order status led the defendants to block all communication between the consumer and the business and/or become hostile toward the consumer, both privately and publicly. And we are going to look at some specific examples of that in a bit. We're just not quite there yet. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to put that up bigger. My bad. But yeah, so it's really important to understand that with this name, Suzanne Collier, it's going to come up in a couple different places. Susan Collier somehow was working for Sherry Tenney, and legally, that would mean that anything that Susan Collier was saying would be the same as if Sherry Tenney was saying it, unless she was like off going rogue and doing things that Sherry Tenney wasn't telling her to do or wasn't, but like that's a very slim thing. It's going to become important later on when we get into the defense's objections, but remember the name Suzanne Collier. Let's just leave that. Remember the name Suzanne Collier. And the blocking of communication, right? Where it's just like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And it is true. And there were reports. And I believe that I have like video of this where it's like somebody would complain about not getting an order. And Sherry Tenney's MO appears to have been to block them on the Facebook groups, cut off any communication. And then it was just like, well, then what? We're going to get into some specifics on that. Defendants' hostility included allegedly posting online, posing as a third party, indicating defendants were taking criminal action against others and warning them to stop, contacting the employer of one customer who posted a negative review of defendants, claiming the customer was a drug user, and providing personal information about customers when defendants intends to sue for being a troll, quote unquote. A true and correct conversation, a defendant's online post, partially redacted to protect sensitive information of defendant's victim, is attached to Exhibit E. And we are going to look at Exhibit E in a little bit. There's just something I want to get to first, and then we're going to circle back to it. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like this sort of just very hostile, very aggressive. These claims are very hostile, very aggressive. Like calling employers and saying like they're a drug user. Like there are accusations of Sherry Tenney doxing customers on the Facebook group. It was just, and by the way, in a way, this sort of behavior worked because this was the sort of thing that was reading about that was like, I don't know if I want to deal with this, you know? Paragraph 33, defendant's website is currently inactive and is listed as parked by the domain provider. I'm kind of wondering which website that is because the website that I've been looking at has been active. It just says like they're stocking up for their like May sale, but I don't know. 34, Defendants still have ownership of the website and are able to reactivate it and continuing selling products should they desire to do so. Defendants also sell their products through their online marketplaces, including but not limited to Etsy and Facebook. And there's exhibits for that. As of December 12th, 2022, defendants have made over 10,886 sales on Etsy. So this filing was on December 30th. And on December 12th of last. So December 30th, 2022 is when this was filed. So December 12th, as of December 12th, defendants had made $10,886 sales on Etsy. Defendants recently updated their ownership of their Etsy page on the alias Carla and Mike Rosenstein. And we are now going to talk about the aliases. So Esmeralda asks, who are Mike and Carla? They are leaving responses on Etsy to Tenney's Fiber Farm reviews, all 5-star, of course. Well, it's really interesting you should ask that, Esmeralda, because point of fact, if we scroll down, defendants have acknowledged that they are Carla and Mike Rosenstein and changed from the business name due to the trolls and the lies they claim they were experiencing on their website. So yeah, Carla and Mike Rosenstein are Sherry Tenney. Okay? Kaiser Soze is... So this is one of the tactics, and it was mentioned in the Demon Trolls post that we talked way back earlier in the stream. This is a very common tactic for Sherry Tenney, was to use a whole bunch of aliases and various Facebook groups to sort of hide her activity. And we are going to, sorry, let me put myself up here for a second. I gotta get to it here. So some of the aliases, what I'm going to bring up is a list of some of the aliases that are known. This is from the Tumblr blog. So Sherry Tenney's confirmed known aliases and names that she goes by are Sherry Tenney, Von Dorp Sherry, Sherry Von Dorp, Lee Gilte, Sarah Rudisil. That name's going to be important. Remember that name, Sarah Rudisil. Sherry Lee Price, Sherry Tenney Gilte, and not on this list, but now could be added to it, are Mike and Carla Rosenstein. LOL, right? Yes. They're all Kaiser Soze. They're all Kaiser Soze. But yeah, so these were all these aliases that she has been using. Suzanne Collier is like the one other like real person that gets named. Everything else is like a alias. And what's interesting about the Mike and Carla Rosenstein is that she said that I wasn't able to find it, but allegedly there was an announcement on the Etsy store. The ownership had changed to this Carla and Mike Rosenstein. But if you know anything about Etsy, you cannot transfer ownership of your Etsy store to somebody else. Like they would have to open their own Etsy store. So like anybody who knows about Etsy would know that that was BS, right? But it's not. And what I love, oh my God, like that, I'm sorry, I'm just like, they're leaving response on Etsy's on Tenney's Fiber Farm reviews, all 5 stars. It's just such BS. But it's not just people. It's also various Facebook groups. These are Facebook groups that are alleged to be run by Sherry Tenney. Farm Life in the Country, Raw Wool for All, Tenney's Fibers and Raw Wool Buyers Group, Fiber Sellers, the Cashmere Turtle Luxury Fiber Affordable Prices, and the Dye House and Mrs. Tuttle Country Fiber Arts Community. So if you see any name like this, be wary. I might say run. I might have that opinion to run, but you know. So yeah. Esmeralda Sounds a bit, oh, this is in relation to the Carla and Mike Rosenstein. Sounds a bit anti-Semitic. Why did she choose a Jewish name? I have no idea. Trust me, I am a Jewish woman. That thought did cross my mind. I have no idea why she would choose. Maybe like she just ran out of so many other aliases between Guilty, Rudisill, Van Dorp. I think one of them is her grandmother's maiden name or something. Somebody figured out on Demon Troll, but yeah, it's kind of unsavory. Did she take grifting lessons from TFG? Maybe. She's, I mean, allegedly grifting. Allegedly. But I mean, you know, think about all these aliases. There are a lot of parallels with this story and Mystical Creation Yarns. Again, I'm going to plug that video if you haven't watched it, because like the aliases, the various Facebook groups, Mystical Creation Yarn had various like eBay sellers, stores, and names that she used to keep selling her yarn. About the only thing that's not the same between these stories in terms of the alleged activities, because nothing is proven yet with Sherry Tenney. But on the surface, the only real big difference is that Sherry Tenney has not faked unalived herself. Like with Mystical Creation Yarns, which is like one of the most famous pseudosides in the Fiberverse history of pseudosides. But yeah, it's crazy. It's real wild. It's wild. I'm trying to excise using crazy that way and switch to wild. So yeah, we're going to go back to the lawsuit. Here we go. Mark Schwartz, yet. Very important caveat, yet. Trust me, when I was going through this, Mark, last night, I was like organizing all my media and marking up the file. I was like sitting there going, man, at what point are we going to get the pseudoside? Because it feels like we're getting to the pseudoside stage of life. Guilty Shirley is an admin in Raw Wool for All. So, yes. And Raw Wool for All is one of the Facebook groups that is on the list of, you know, sundry places that she's been selling. And this brings up something too, in terms of Facebook groups and selling online. You know, I have bought things from Facebook Marketplace. I got a rigid heddle loom last year, starting to learn how to rigid heddle weave, and I got it from Facebook Marketplace. But these sort of Facebook seller groups, it's not a black market, but it does start to feel a little bit like it's in the gray area, right? It's kind of real easy, I think, through these Facebook groups, these seller groups, these private groups, to do some real shady things, right? Because it's just not out in the open, like on Etsy, you know, and things of that nature. And it does, on the surface, if the accusations are true, it does feel like Sherry Tenney has exploited all of them, all of the gray. Esmeralda Peabody Jones, forfeiture, November 24th, 2020, digging in. Ooh, Esmeralda, you are like, I love it. I love the researching. I know there's a lot more. There's a lot more to this whole story than what I'm going over today. Otherwise, I'd have like a 10-hour, I'd have a 10-hour live stream. But I mean, Sherry Tenney has quite the history. I mean, there's been multiple bankruptcies. Not that having a bankruptcy makes you a shady person, not by any stretch of the imagination. I would never put that kind of moral judgment. But when you see somebody having like 2-3 bankruptcies, then you start going, Mark Schwartz, if she dies, she could buy her own inventory at half price because her business had to close down and liquidate. Then she could make an alias and sell her stuff for more as a dead artist. Right? Well, focus. Come on. I moved. Wait. Oh, there we go. In a way, that's what they were doing at Mystical Creation Yarns when oh god, I can't remember her name now. It's terrible. But Mystical Creation Yarns, when the whole Suedo side happened, it was sort of this way to try to unwind the business and garner sympathy and patience from people. But like it was like a fire sale. Fred Guilty was the agent of record. Oh, maybe that's where that name came from. I know. I do want to hunt because usually, and this was true with Mystical Creation Yarns, like I can't remember all the names involved, but so with Mystical Creation Yarns, what happened was the Suedo site occurred. This announcement went up. We are so on a tangent right now, but I'm here for it. Announcement went out that the owner of Mystical Creation Yarns had passed away. And then really soon thereafter, people figured out it was BS. And there's a whole thread on Ravelry about all of this. And I read almost all of it. But people start going, no, this is not real. This is not real. At some point, a person came on claiming to be her sister. Or no, the announcement of her passing was done by her alleged sister. And it was this name, Deborah. I think it was Deborah. Whatever the name was. And it was sort of this whole thing about like, where did this name come from? And as I was kind of like searching for information, the owner for Mystical Creation Yards, I came across a divorce filing with her and come to find out that the sister was her middle name. So normally people are using names that are like somehow associated with them when they come up with these aliases. Because let's face it, it's hard thinking of like aliases. Like, can I DM you on Twitter? I can send links. Yes, please feel free to DM me, Esmeralda. I believe my DMs are open, or you can also email me if you'd like. My email should be down in the description box. Either is cool. So let's get back to the filing. But yeah, if you want a hoot of a story, Mystical Creation Yarns is something. It's wild. So paragraph 38, defendants have acknowledged they are Carla and Mike Rosenstein and changed from the business name due to trolls and the lies they claim they were experiencing on their website. By the way, those trolls, quote unquote, there are several videos of Sherry Tenney like going off about demon trolls. So usually when she's referring to trolls, she is referring to that group. Paragraph 39, defendant's use of an alias is deceptive to buyers concerned by defendant's reputation of sales through their personal website, posing as someone else to obtain sales. And so it doesn't cite a particular part of the statute, but it is saying like, yeah, all these aliases are meant to deceive. Paragraph 40, the Bureau of Consumer Protection, hereafter Bureau, has received numerous consumer complaints against the defendant, indicating that defendants have engaged in unfair and deceptive acts and practices in violation of the consumer protection law. And we're going to start getting into some specific complaints now that are in the filing. The following examples are allegations submitted by consumers who have filed complaints. So what I personally take that to mean is that these examples don't represent the full universe of the complaints that were sent into, but they are examples of what was probably commonly filed. Yes. Sorry. Start to lose my train of words. All right. So consumer A, we're not using actual people's names. Consumer A purchased $129.95 of wool from defendant's website. Defendants shipped the wrong product to Consumer A, who notified defendants of such. Consumer A sought a refund of the purchase price or an exchange for the correct item, totally reasonable, and what anybody would do if they got the wrong item in the mail. After defendants refused to respond or communicate with Consumer A, and following repeated attempts by Consumer A to communicate with defendants blocked Consumer A from all communication. To date, Consumer A has yet to receive her product nor been refunded, $129.95. Again, this seems like very typical of the cycle, right? Either not fulfilling the purchase or sending something that was wrong, damaged, etc., and then not communicating about a refund or exchange. B, Consumer B purchased $370.14 of product during a July 4th pre-sale through defendants. Pre-sales in quotes. This is through Facebook. After the sale, Consumer B contacted defendants who indicated the product shipped but provided no shipping information. Again, if somebody tells you something is shipped, they should be giving you the shipping information. I briefly had an active Etsy store selling masks at the beginning of the panini. And one of the reasons I always did my shipping through Etsy was because it automated all of the shipping notices for me. So it's like I made the shipping label and that information would get set off to the person who made the purchase. But yes, you send the shipping information with the tracking number, and so that people know it's been shipped. They should be expecting it within a certain window. But it also confirms the shipping agent, USPS, whomever, has gotten the item. So anyway, but provided no shipping information. Consumer B followed up with defendants after a new July 4th sale posted, inquiring why new orders were offered rather than defendants shipping previously unfulfilled orders. Great question. In response, defendants blocked communication with Consumer B. To date, Consumer has not received the products purchased nor refunded $370.14. This next one is highlighted because I have some background material to share with you on it. So we will do that. But let's first read through it. Consumer C purchased $67.84 worth of product from defendant's website. After considerable time passed and the products never shipped, Consumer C inquired into the order status. Defendants acknowledged the order never shipped, but refused to issue a refund due to the length of time Consumer took to notify defendants. And this is really important. If you are expecting something to arrive and it doesn't arrive within the time frame that is either specified within the item or within 30 days of the purchase, contact the seller. Do not just wait on good faith. Don't. Anyway, after further inquiry by Consumer C, defendants left threatening voice messages via Facebook Messenger to Consumer C, as well as publicly identifying Consumer C during a live chat on Facebook. So basically dox the person. To date, Consumer C has not received the products purchased nor refunded $67.84. So, like I said, have some interesting background stuff on this because this person, Consumer C, actually put up her communications with first Suzanne Collier and then with Sherry Tenney up on the intertubes. And I got the links, and they are linked down below if you want them. But let's look at them now. So first, these are DMs that Consumer C had with Suzanne Collier. Suzanne Collier is a real person. She is the representative that is named in the filing. And we're just going to read through this. So I believe this is... Okay, so this is Consumer C is in blue. I have approached this issue with patience of a saint, giving y'all almost a year to sort it out. But I'm done bending over backwards to accommodate you. I demand a refund. We can do this one of two ways. One, I get my refund in full via PayPal by Friday. Or two, we put your customer service to the test by sharing screen caps of this conversation around various Viber groups. Since you feel that you, the vendor, are blameless, and I, the customer, am being unreasonable, I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine with this. A little bit threatening, but if you've been waiting for an item for a year. I still don't have my, so that was November 8th. November 10th, I still don't have my refund, but I see I have been removed from Sherry's group, so I know you saw my message. November 10th, 5:15. Oh, ho, removed and blocked and a post just for me. Wow, it'd be so much easier for you guys to just refund what I'm owed. So she messaged all of this to Suzanne Collier, and you can see there's no responses to these messages. from Suzanne Collier. Now, I am assuming there were communications before what is up here that led to this moment, but still, at the end of the day, so then it says that Customer C was blocked from Facebook, and I don't know what the post was, but some post about Customer C was put into the Facebook group. Now we're going to look at, now this is a YouTube video. It's going to be interesting how this works, but this is a YouTube video that she put up that includes voice messages with Sherry Tenney, and this is going to kind of give you a sense of Sherry Tenney's tenor when dealing with all of this. So add to stream, here we go. I need to pause that real quick because I need to be able to read this. I gotta change my screen around a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Hey, I'm sure you know, this is Consumer C speaking to Sherry Tenney. Hey, I'm sure you know I've been asking for months about a missing order from last November. I asked for a refund since Suzanne couldn't give me a tracking number. Whoops, scroll down too soon. I gotta rewind this so I can read it. Go back. Go back. Okay. Pause. There we go. And now I've been kicked off the Facebook. So I asked for a refund since Suzanne couldn't give me a tracking number or ship date or any evidence that it was actually mailed. And now I've been kicked from the Facebook group. So I'm giving you one last chance to refund my order in full and make things right. Do not threaten. Oh, this is Sherry Tenney now. Do not threaten me. Call me right now. I am holding my phone. Customer C, I'm not going to call you, nor have I threatened you. I just want my refund. There's a little bit more, but the screen went past it. Sherry Tenney, I have an attorney that I'm correcting some of the typos as I speak. I have an attorney that has every single one of your messages. Damn right you were kicked off that libel, slander, defamation. I'm going to assume that's defamation and tort damages. You don't threaten a person saying you are contacting members. That's out a lawsuit. Basically, Customer C was allegedly contacting members of the group saying, hey, this is what's going on with me. Coward, if you want to talk about your demand, pick up. Customer C, demand.
Let me explain something to you. I looked up your little $60-some order. I don't give a shit about $60-some. If you had contacted me, do not threaten. You're a coward. You will not pick up the phone. That is a coward. And you want to say something like, I'm going to take all my screenshots and post them on Facebook? I will sue your ass. Now, let me explain something to you. I'm not one to play with, and I don't care who you send this message to. You'll get your 63 pennies back because I don't care. You do not threaten my people, and you don't threaten me. You're a coward. If you can't pick up the phone, big mouth, Kathy, you're a coward. I'm not a coward. I will be glad to calm down and talk to you. I have no problem talking to you. But when you send that kind of stuff that you did to Suzanne, and my attorney, Krabs and Krabs in Hanover, Pennsylvania, has it, and I have your app.
Sorry, that audio started playing before I was ready, and there was some non-network friendly words in it. Sorry about that. But yeah, so that's Sherry Tenney's voice you just heard. Apparently the threat was saying, I'm going to share screen caps of my conversations with you and your lousy customer service. I'm summarizing. Those are my words summarizing what I read. And all the woman wants is a refund. And Sherry Tenney is sitting there going, I'm going to have my lawyers, Crab and Krabs, sue you. Remember the name Krabs and Krabs. All right, I'm going to continue we're going to continue listening to the audio messages. And yeah, I don't remember if there's any further swearing, but you may want to put headphones on.
You have been nasty and unhinged and off the wall. You have sent Suzanne tons of messages. Tons. How dare you? There's something wrong with you. you're going to get your refund, but not because you're going to win, but because I'm going to make it so that Suzanne is happier. Do not contact us. You're damn right you got kicked off my group. You're unhinged. There's something wrong with you. And I'll tell you what, I have 4 Facebook accounts. And my attorney is going to be watching you and all your accounts and everything that you do. Creepy. Everything. So I'm going to take care of this.
That is so creepy, by the way. In my opinion, that is so creepy to be like, I'm going to watch you. I have 4 Facebook groups. I'm watching you. That's so creepy. Like, who handles a customer service situation like this? Even if there wasn't a Pennsylvania AG civil complaint, what seller behaves like this? Like, this is just terrible. All she wants is a refund. And you're acting like, oh, well, I'll give you the $67 just because I don't want to deal with you. You could have done that like months ago. When somebody's coming that hot at you for something that they claim is like not a big deal, there's probably a bigger deal going on, in my opinion.
And it ends today. This is your warning to cease and desist, okay? Because you're a coward because you wouldn't pick up the phone. And I can calm myself down to talk to you. And I also don't think you realize I study law. So what you need to do is chill and check yourself and realize it is $63, not your life.
Customer C responded, you seem very angry. And now the voicemails will continue. Voice messages.
Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a lot more in this earth to deal with. You didn't give a shit that my brother died. You didn't give a shit that I had COVID. You didn't give a shit about anything. But all you cared about was your $63 that I didn't even freaking know about.
Again, wild excuses.
And if you want to know why I'm talking like this, because you are not a customer, you are not a friend.
She was a customer, though. She gave you $67.
Right, I'm angry. Because how dare you say what you said? And then you want to play games with your stupid different PayPal account, Facebook accounts? I got you on this one. Crabs and Crabs, my attorney, and I'm not playing with you. If I see...
By the way, Crabs and Crabs is a real law firm in Hanover, Pennsylvania. I looked it up.
One little frickin' peep. And I have a lot of people watching all your accounts. I got you.
So creepy.
Just know it. I got you. So you end today. You got it? Today. Because I have your address. And my attorney will take care of you. Do not. If you're a coward and can't pick up the phone, Miss Big Britches, Miss Kathy, why don't you pick up the phone? If you can't pick up the phone, guess what? We have nothing else to talk about. All right? Period. End of discussion. You don't need to be...
Then why does she keep going? Why does Sherry Tenney keep going? She's like, I'm going to give you the money. She could have been the conversation. No, it's just like this really aggressive, like, I'm just going to like verbally you into submission.
My group or any of my other groups. You've been thrown off of them too, but you don't know which ones they are because we're not going to have people on there like that harass people. You are unhinged. Period. End of discussion. That is it. And I'm going to tell you something else. Everything's going to Etsy, and I believe me, I'm not done. I'm finished with you as of tonight. You're off the history books. You're done. You can say whatever you want, but if I see it, if I see one little peep out of you after what you did to Suzanne, I unleash the damn Titans, and I'm not playing because I can afford an attorney. I don't need to worry about $63.
So, oh, there's more. Oh, God, there's more.
Odd notion is that you think that it's okay for you to go ahead and harass an admin, odd notion, and threaten her with all sorts of stuff. I have all the screenshots and all the proof where you said all sorts of stuff. Odd notion that maybe you didn't think about this. Maybe you didn't think about the fact that you had plenty of orders before that were delivered successfully, that maybe you didn't think about the freaking fault of the USPS. You didn't think about COVID. You didn't think about things being shut down. All you think about is a fucking year later.
All right, I just got to pause here for a second. So let's listen to all the excuses so far for the delivery not being ordered, not happening. A, it doesn't matter because all these other orders went through. Okay, great. But when this last one didn't go through, you didn't just refund the money. But her brother passed away. She had COVID. It must be USPS. You don't care about anything but yourself. There's at least 4 excuses in these voice messages, right? Usually when there's a legitimate excuse for a shipping delay, you get 1 reason, not 4. It's all a big guilt trip, right? At least that's how it comes across to me. Like she's trying to guilt her into and bully the customer into letting go of the $67, which don't matter, but does matter. But anyway. Exactly. If you can afford an attorney, you can afford to refund $63. Exactly. Holy projection, Batman. Absolutely. It is holy projection. Like the whole thing about being unhinged felt to me personally like, it feels a little bit like a projection.
Coming up there and acting like Miss Big Shit. I can take my father's plane and I can fly down there and talk to you. I don't give a shit. But let me tell you something. You are not ever going to contact me again. You got it, period, end of discussion. If I see you, I am warning you 1 time. Last chance. Don't try it.
Warning her to do what? Why would she even see her? But warning, what? Like, that is so creepy, in my opinion, like to say things like that and that you're being watched. And, it's just so weird to me. All right, that is the end. So, yeah, that was customer C. My personal opinion, unless her defense attorney can get this case thrown out, I would settle if I was her. Because this goes to a trial, this goes before a jury, and they hear that. Julian Eve, this is bonkers, Carrie. I'm glad you are addressing this in a respectful way. The fiber art community needs to be aware of this terrible alleged behavior. Holy sheep, indeed. Yeah, right? It is. It's really creepy. And again, I mean, I know that sometimes us knitters have a reputation for being a little spiky. We do deal with sharp, pointy tools, but we're actually really tend not to be. Like I said much earlier in the live stream, people in the Fiberverse, we tend to be very understanding of small businesses having delays and such, and being really patient. I mean, customer C went for almost a year waiting for her order to come in. And then when it didn't, it was just like, just give me my $67 back. It just, Esmeralda Pugh, she is unhinged in those. It does sound that way. It does. And, the thing about it is, so, yeah, I'm just going to show it now. There's a video of her. So there's a couple of other videos of her on YouTube that somebody caught them from, I believe, Facebook Lives, and they put them up. And this is one of them that I grabbed, and it's so interesting to me watching it. So I'm going to just play it now.
Amount.
Whoops.
Because it's much easier on me. I'm still catching up on some back orders and things like that. And I don't want to do that again because I'm really getting tired of taking the heat for...
I'm just going to say, what preceded this was her saying how she's just going to put up smaller listings from this point forward.
The post office last year.
Blaming the post office.
One thing that you'll find about me, if you have an issue, which sometimes I have issues, we all know we've heard stuff.
Oh, we heard stuff.
Message me. You don't post something on the page. If you do that on my personal page, I just block you because my private page is my private page. That's just where I show sheep pictures and things like that. If Suzanne hasn't answered you, it's because she's also doing things, or we're investigating in the background. I'm still shipping over almost 400 packages a week by myself, which is absolutely fine. I enjoy it.
Nobody enjoys shipping.
Also,
I'm sorry.
What I had to do this morning is I posted that if anybody is getting troll messages where people are messaging you personally and saying really hostile things about me, listen, I already know about the Demon Troll group on Ravelry. My lawyer is on it. We got their name. I already know all about it. I already know about the fake reviews. Some reviews might be right. Don't know. I already know about the fake ones. I know all about it. Got their names, got everything. Getting ready to serve them with papers. It's fine. It's cool, people. However, if they're invading you up here, and this is the last time I'm going to talk about it, because to be quite honest with you, I'm not here for this. If they're doing it to you here, you can message me anonymously. If you don't feel comfortable putting something in writing, hit the Facebook call button. You can call me. It's free. If I'm around, if I'm not working, I will pick it up, and you can tell me what's up. I
Have people watching.
I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. I can't eat you. You can't eat me. We're on the phone, Have a discussion like adults. What amazes me about Facebook and why I love the group so much is on Facebook, we have so many non-adults. Have you noticed that women between the age of 50 and 60 are horrible? Are they not like a bunch of teenage girls in high school in the Mean Girls group in the 1980s? Becca, did you see that? They just, they sound like a bunch of clucking hens. Clucking. I said clucking. I didn't say what you thought I said. I said clucking. I said clucking. I was thinking about my chickens, but yeah. So people will find that if you don't discuss something with me and you come at me in a negative way, in an aggressive manner, which you know what? I've been running this business for a long, long time. And I run a business outside of here, and people just have days, and life is what it is. And, we don't know what people are going through behind the scenes. But when you come at me like that, Roberta will tell you what happens. I dig in my heels, and I dig my heels in. I go, okay. Then I won't help you at all. I won't talk to you at all. And then I just work behind the scenes.
Okay, so you're a seller. Like, even if we put everything possible in the best possible light for Sherry Tenney, you are a seller. It is not your option to say, I don't like this customer, I'm just not going to speak to them. If you owe them a refund, you owe them a refund, and you have to send the refund. I mean, it's really interesting how, like, kind of her justification for a lot of this is like, well, they posted they didn't DM me directly. It's like, well, then when they do DM you directly, they get just these voicemails. Like, it's really interesting, the justification.
So to be productive and to handle things in a positive manner, please act like an adult.
She's running a
business. I will act like an adult too. A lot of times I won't answer messages because I'm just not around. Or because if I know that you're a known troll, I don't put anything in writing. I just watch you. We just watch you everywhere. My lawyer watches. Everybody watches. It's kind of sad.
In my opinion, creepy.
Anyway, we are safe here. We have a ton of positive things happening. I know it's getting dark out here, but I'm actually sitting out here to get some fresh air and clear up my mama bear. No, I'm actually very low key and very laid back. Anybody that's ever met me in person, and a lot of people have, I am very calm.
All right, we're gonna end the video there because I think we all know that that's not the case. So that's Sherry Tenney, and that is something. That is absolutely something. The voicemails alone, like, and it's just, in my opinion, my interpretation of that behavior is sort of just like trying to intimidate somebody out of demanding anything further. And by the way, if I am correct, I believe that customer C is the person who had those DMs with Suzanne Collier and then the voice messages that we listened to, because the amounts are very similar. So, but yeah. Okay, so something I want to circle back to, now that we've listened to all of that, is Exhibit E in the filing. Because there was discussion. Well, I'll just reread the portion because I actually planned for this. I did plan for this. Add to stream. So you might have remembered this paragraph in the complaint. Defendant's hostility included allegedly posting online allegedly. Defendant's hostility included allegedly posting online, posing as a third party, indicating defendants were taking criminal action against others, and warning them to stop, contacting the employer of one customer who posted a negative review of defendants, claiming the customer was a drug user, and providing personal information about customers whom defendants intended to sue for being a troll, a true and correct copy. So we're going to look at Exhibit E now. This is it. Sorry that I can't control how the Pennsylvania AG chooses to scan their information. But this is it. And remember when I said, remember the name Sarah Rudisil? Because that's who is the communication is from to a customer. And this is one of the aliases, the alleged aliases. I'm going to just say that for safety's sake. Alleged aliases of Sherry Tenney. So let's read through it because it's wild. You have been mentioned in an FBI IC3 form for internet bullying and harassment for being involved in the Demon Troll group that's being investigated along with, I'm doing some revisions as I think makes more sense, but it's being investigated along with, I feel like that's supposed to be along with Emily Hitchner, who is being sued personally. So basically this person that they reached out to, who's mentioned in the complaint, saying that they are now on the if you don't know what an IFB IC3 form is, by the way, if you believe that you are a victim of basically an internet crime, a scam, fraud, whatever it is, the FBI has a website and you can file what's called an IC3 complaint, and it's really a clearinghouse. The FBI takes all those complaints and kind of like goes, okay, this is a local matter that should go to this jurisdiction. This is federal that we need to investigate. Kind of sorts through all of these claims and figures out where they should be investigated by whom. So that's what, but she's making this seem so creepy. Like this person is like, the FBI is now on you. That's how it reads to me. Like now the FBI is on you. And and you're part of this group whom I'm suing. Anyway, continuing to read the message. I suggest you stop before Sherry goes farther. I suggest you stop before Sherry goes farther. You're not hiding in a corner. You are being influenced. Sherry is coming out fighting against the slander. You are being watched, FYI, on the internet. This continuous threat of you're being watched. Sherry had no problem with you until you were involved with scum. I believe the scum that this message is referring to is the Demon Trolls group. Your business can go down in flames itself. You're not immune. I baited Emily, who is scum, into thinking she knows who I am. She doesn't. Then it gives this address, which I fully redacted. Stay to yourself. So consider this a heads up, since she liked you. Demon Troll, are you that low? I think. Not well, I hope not. Not well, I would hope not. Look at the name Demon, and they are proud to attack someone. They could attack you next. So creepy. This reads so creepy to me. The end of it feels like it just kind of goes off into gibberish. I don't quite capture that. But yeah, that was the communication that's in Exhibit E. So that's actually in the Pennsylvania AG filing. And it is something. Alrighty. We are getting close to the end of the AG filing. We're going to start skipping through some of this. Not reading every paragraph necessarily, because we're through what I think are like the main points. Let's see, paragraph 42, going back to the filing. When contacted by consumers inquiring to the status of their order, defendants frequently reply that USPS shipped their order, USPS must have lost the order, and the consumer should file a claim. with the USPS for the lost package. Defendant refused to offer consumer refunds. Upon repeated requests, defendants have failed and are unable to provide any tracking numbers of products allegedly shipped. This is a big deal. By defendants, but not received by complaint. Unable to provide any tracking number of products allegedly shipped by the defendants, but not received by complaining consumers, which if defendants did provide, would verify that the defendants did deliver said lost packages. So it's like, Sherry Tenney is not offering any proof that she actually shipped these items. This is the important paragraph. Paragraph 45. The Commonwealth believes and therefore avers or asserts that the defendant's failure to provide tracking numbers for undelivered orders supports that the defendant never shipped the merchandise purchased by those consumers, and therefore the impacted consumers are entitled to a full refund. So basically, the state is asserting that because she never had any tracking numbers, she never intended to ship these items and that consumers should get their refunds. Paragraph 46 is just saying there are probably other customers who have complaints that they haven't found yet. Paragraph 47, at all times relevant and material hereto, the unfair methods, acts, and practices complained of herein have been willful by the defendant. So basically they're saying Sherry Tenney did this on purpose. Like this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an oopsie. Like, Paragraph 48, at all times relevant and material hereto, defendants authorized, approved, endorsed, formulated, directed, controlled, and or participated in the conduct alleged herein. So they're saying is basically at all times, whether it was her speaking or Suzanne Collier, Sherry Tenney is ultimately the person responsible. The defendant's actions have directly harmed Pennsylvania consumers. And Paragraph 50, the Commonwealth believes the public interest is served by seeking before this honorable court a permanent injunction to restrain the methods, acts, et cetera, et cetera. Then the filing kind of goes into the specific statutes that they're filing under, namely the Pennsylvania Consumer Protection Law. I'm not going to read through all this because a lot of it is kind of repetitive, but I highlighted a couple things to point out. In paragraph 56, despite defendants' consistent and repeated inability to deliver merchandise for the consumers who paid in full, defendants continue to solicit new orders via online marketplace and accept payments from customers. So it's like, okay, not only have they not been able to fulfill these past orders or give refunds, they're continuing with the practice. So the state is showing like this is an ongoing situation. It's not like they're trying to go after somebody who quit their business 10 years ago, who committed suicide. Suedocide. Popping down to paragraph 59, the aforesaid acts and practices constitute unfair methods of competition and or unfair or deceptive acts or practices as prohibited by section 201-3 of the Consumer Protection Law, as defined by section 201-2 of law, including without limitation. I don't know why I highlighted that. I don't think I need to read that. Oh, I wanted to get down to section C. Engaging in any other fraudulent. I don't know why I highlighted any of that. I'm not reading all of it. And then we get to the prayer for relief. So prayer for relief is basically just saying, hey, court, this is how we want you to rectify this situation. And I'm not going to read through all of it. A lot of it is like, hey, stop doing the BS. Just stop. Comply with the law already. But there are two prayers for relief that are really, I think, important. So one, this is paragraph D, directing defendants pursuant to section 201-A of the Consumer Protection Law to pay civil penalties in the amount of $1,000 for each and every violation of the Consumer Protection Law and $3,000 for each violation involving a victim age 60 or older. So the state is asking like, hey, pay the refunds already, comply with the law, pay the refunds, and you're going to have to pay a penalty for every accusation. And if somebody is over an elderly person, over 60, you have to pay more. And the reason is that a lot of times laws will have basically like stiffer penalties for things that are considered elder abuse. And then this one, paragraph F in the prayer for relief, directing defendant to remove and relinquish ownership of her website from the internet and permanently enjoining defendant from owning and or operating any website, including third-party marketplaces, wherein defendant solicits consumers for the purchase of goods or services. So basically the state is saying, never let her sell online again. Whether it's her website, Etsy, Facebook, shut it all down. That is what the state is asking for. So those are kind of the three big things, right? The state is asking. They're asking to pay the refunds, pay the penalties, stop doing business online. Then you get to count 2, and these are actually violations they're claiming that they can sue for that are part of the Federal Trade Commission mail, internet, or telephone order merchandise rule. A lot of this is repetitive as well, and it speaks to how the background information that we went through earlier pertains to this FTC law. But I wanted to highlight, I'm not going to read through this one. I'm just not, I'm tired. And it's a bit repetitive. And I need a break from the filing and Sherry Tenney. I need a little bit of a palate cleanser before we very quickly, and it's going to be very quickly, go through the defendant's response. And who's ready for some pretty things? Who's ready for some at least semi-pretty things made out of pretty string? I am. I'm definitely ready. So let's look at it. First, I'm going to show you some finished objects. This is actually weaving. I mentioned earlier in the stream, I have started learning how to do rigid heddle weaving. And let me change my banner. Changing my banner is how will help me with some finished objects. It is time. We are here. Woo! Okay, so first thing I'm going to show you is a finished object. Like I said, I'm learning how to rigid heddle weave. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like this is the first time in a long time that I have started a fiber skill where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm struggling with something. I feel like weaving itself, I feel like I've really struggled with warping my loom, like setting up the warps. Oh my God. And I've warped 3 projects so far, and every time it has been a struggle. I spent my last project that I'm working on now that I don't have pictures of yet. I'm not kidding. Like, it took me 2 days. I actually binged watched The White Lotus I binge watched 2 or 3 shows while trying to do that warping setup. But anyway, I have a finished object. These are just tea towels that I made. I used just sugar and cream cotton yarn. There it is. And I'm very happy because I busted out my sewing machine and I hemmed finished. And look, I even managed to match up the stripes. I'm so proud of this. I matched up the stripes on the hem. I'm very proud of myself doing that. Both sides. Very proud of that. It was very important to me when I did this hemming. And I got this second one here. They're pretty. If you just look at them not too closely, they're pretty. I like the colors a lot. Here's more hems, more matching stripes. But I gotta tell you, I'm struggling with my selvages so hard. Like, my selvages are not great. I'm just learning. I have to keep reminding myself, I am just learning. It's okay. Like, you have to suck at it first before you get good. And I'm in like, I have to suck at this first. Thank you, Esmeralda. Thank you. It's like, that was pretty. Nice. Yeah. So I'm very proud of this. I actually am. When I first got them off the loom, I was very disappointed by the selvages, even after I like wet finished. And with weaving, as I've learned, when you first weave something, everything is really open right? And you have to do a wet finish to get everything to kind of close up and really look like the finished product. So yes, even with weaving, there's like washing and blocking. But even after I did the wet finish, I was still like, look how terrible right there that selvage is right there. Like you can see right there, that selvage just doesn't look fantastic. But I'm looking at them now and I'm like, they're still pretty. Like, I'll get better, right? I hope. And it's really enjoyable. It really is. It's really fun to do. It's very relaxing. Once you get set up, once you get the warping done, it's very relaxing. The actual weaving part is super relaxing, except for worrying about your selvages. Wow, getting through all that. You are a hero. Let's see the pretty stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Evie. There's only a little bit more left to go. But it's more or a pain. Oh, sorry. Esmeralda, I need all the tips. Thank you. In the future, you can finish the end so you don't need to hem. I have another project that I did. My first project I did, and I finished the ends using hem stitch. I did use, no, not hem stitch. Herringbone stitch? I forgot. And I actually didn't love it after I said, it was fine. They were just washcloths. So it wasn't a big deal for me that the ends weren't perfect. But I actually really like the hem stitch. And I really like the hemming, and I really like sewing, and I don't get to do it very often just because I have a 5, almost 6-year-old. So I don't mind doing the rolled hems. I'm very happy with them. But yeah, this is a little wrinkly, but I'm very happy with it. I would do this project again. I would totally do this project again. And I love the colors. I'm just really happy with the colors. Like, they're so pretty. And the thing is, this is a worsted weighted yarn. If it wasn't a worsted weighted yarn, I probably would have turned the selvages in and sewn them down. So I would just have a straighter looking edge and kind of disguise the selvage. But yes, Esmeralda, as I'm learning, selvages are hard. They are hard. Oh, man. They are hard. Especially, I think on a rigid heddle loom, as I'm learning, they're even harder because you really just have to pay attention to it. And a lot of it seems to be in the setup, and I'm not great at the setting up yet. But like I said, I'm in my sucking phase. Like, I'm not going to be good at weaving for a while. I have to, like knitting, which I'm going to show you next, I've been doing for like 20 years. More than 20 years now. So I've gotten okay at it. I've gotten more than okay. I've gotten really good at knitting. I'm just going to brag on myself for a second. I've gotten really good on knitting. So the next thing I show you is my knitting project. There is a link to this pattern down in the description box below. It is June Blooms by Knit Eco Chic. It's going to be a little hard to show because the way this is knitted up is like one piece. It's a vest. It's kind of a spring vest kind of thing, but it's knitted in one piece. There's no seaming. And so it's knit from the top down. So you start with the collar, you knit down, and then you start knitting sections for the armholes and the back. So it's a little hard for me to kind of show it because I'm trying to get it oriented correctly so you can kind of see what's going on. It looks like nothing right now, right? Like, look, hole. Look, other armhole. I finished the right side of it. Let me show you. Let me take it from the side. It's upside down. But I finished the right side of this. Isn't that pretty? It's all stockinette. So it's like permanently being on Sleeve Island. But I finished the right side. And I finished the center back, which is kind of like a razor back. And now I'm working on the left side of it. So that's where I'm now, is with it. And then when I'm done, everything will get rejoined back, and then I'm going to knit for as long as it needs to go. But the collar is really pretty. It's a really pretty collar. Like, this is the collar, and it's super pretty. But it has an I-cord cast on edge. I used a French knitter to make the length of I-cord, and then I used a Tunisian crochet hook to pick up the stitches into the I-cord. So then I could just pop on my interchangeable needle and start knitting it. So that is my work in progress. I'm making good progress on it. I got a little, I don't want to say behind, but I took a small break. I took a small break of it to start another weaving project. And also this project I'm knitting, this is a This is a cotton silk blend. It's a discontinued Valley Yarns. But I love it. It's beautiful yarn. It's so soft and it's just has such a gorgeous sheen to it from the silk. I really love the yarn, but it's cotton and silk, which means that like there's no elasticity in it. So it can be a little hard on the wrist. So I have to take more breaks when I'm knitting this just to give my wrists some rest. Got to protect the wrist, you know? I want to be knitting when I'm 80. I want to be a badass knitter when I'm 80. I got to protect the wrist. Esmeralda, I also finally blocked a shawl today. I finished 2 years ago. I wove in the ends a couple days, ages, finally. Right? Look, we all have those projects. I'm notorious for having unfinished objects simply because I need to weave in the ends. It's usually the weaving in the ends. Once I weave in the ends, I'm usually pretty good about immediately washing and doing any necessary blocking. But weaving in the ends can definitely like slow me down. Yes, you've gotten good at knitting. 20 years will do that. Oh, yes, I remember that you have done a lot of work. It looks great. Thank you. I just spit. Esmeralda, that's an interesting construction. It is an interesting construction. It's almost like knitting in the round, but not really. That's brilliant. I'm going to assume that's about the I-cord cast on. Yes. When I got the project and I saw that it called for an I-cord cast on, look, you can always change the cast on a project and the bind off. But I have to admit, the I-cord cast on and bind off is a really pretty finish. So like the pain of doing it is kind of worth it to me in the end. But I was like, oh gosh, I hate knitting I-cord. So using a French knitter made it much more enjoyable. It made it much, much more enjoyable to knit with the I-cord. Okay, guys. So that is my finished object and my work in progress. I'm hoping with this vest, I think I'll have it finished before the end of April. I think I will. I think by the time I have my next planned Knit Tea Live, I will have this finished, or at least cast it off, and another project cast on. I'm really wanting to cast on a pair of socks. I keep dreaming of casting on a pair of socks, but I'm really determined to be disciplined and not get sidetracked from this because I really like to have this for the spring and summer to wear. So staying focused, not going squirrel, 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 squirrel. Yeah. So we have the defendant's reply to the state's filing. And the good news is it's not going to take terribly long to get through. So we're going to just quickly go through it. We don't need to look at the exhibits from the, you can if you want, but we don't need to. I already showed you Exhibit E, which was the text messages with the customer from Sarah Radisil, aka Sherry Tenney, allegedly. So I'm just, right now I'm scrolling through. Here we go. Okay. To the defendant's response. One thing that's interesting to me about, because like in the, make sure I'm in the right. Yeah. One thing that's interesting is like in her messages to customer C, I'm assuming customer C, Sherry Tenney kept going, my lawyers, crabs and crabs. You're going to hear from my lawyers, crabs and crabs. Crabs and Crabs. It feels like a made-up name, doesn't it? But it's not. It's an actual law firm. But Crabs and Crabs. But Crabs and Crabs is not her lawyer in this case. Let's see. Yes. The person representing her is Platt Law PLLC. Here we have like kind of the notice of appearance. Please enter my appearance on behalf of defendants Sherry Tenney and Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC in the above referenced matter. I did, even though it's going to be like, I'm sure if you Google the lawyer Jason E. Pyatt Esquire, you will get his business address, but just for full measure, I did redact it. And let's see, this is a certificate of compliance. I don't think we need to read this. And the certificate of service. Don't think we need to read through that. And let's just get to, also in the filing, you're going to notice, you might notice that right here, there is this, in the Court of Common Pleas, 39th District, this order to dismiss. Notice, and now this day of date, upon consideration, defendant's preliminary objections to plaintiff complaint and any response filed by plaintiff, defendant's preliminary objections are hereby sustained, and it is ordered that plaintiff's claim be dismissed in its entirety with prejudice. So what does that mean? So this is just an order that I think the defendant puts in with their filing to say, hey, judge, if you agree with our objections, right? If you find like our objections are sustained, here's the order for you to sign to dismiss the whole case. With prejudice means that the state wouldn't be able to refile the complaint. This being in the defendant's filing doesn't mean that the judge is going to rule for them or is more likely to dismiss the case. It's just kind of a pro forma. I believe, again, not a lawyer, I think it's just kind of a pro forma thing that a defendant would put into their filing for the judge. So yeah. I have a mug from No Line Winery. That's so funny. No Line, Wiener and Dick Law Firm. They are a firm in the Detroit area. That's hilarious, Esmeralda. That is hilarious. And if they were two men, I'm sure their 12-year-old inner boy was just like giggling when they came up with that. Like that's probably like they met and said, it would be so funny if we had a law firm. I can see that. Ha, I said firm twice. We're reaching the punchy phase of the live stream. Okay, so going down, we get to the actual objections. Okay, so now we're going to get to the defendant's preliminary objections to plaintiff's complaint. And we get the high drama. And now comes the defendants. And now, I love this. So dramatic sometimes with these filings. And now comes the defendant by and through underside counsel J.C.E. Pyatt to preliminary object to plaintiff's complaint and in support of its preliminary injunction states as follow. Factual and procedural history. I don't think we need to read this. It just says, yeah, this was filed. Yes, she was served. This is our understanding of stuff. Preliminary objection in the nature of a demurrer, I don't know how to pronounce it, demurrer, to count 1, Pennsylvania's unfair trade practices and consumer protection law for failure to state a claim upon relief can be granted in pursuant to Pennsylvania RCP 1028. So we're getting into the objections right now. And I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I'm going to highlight the portions that I think are important to understand about the objections so we can talk about them briefly. So skipping down to paragraph 6, because the first 5 paragraphs I think is more like, here's the law, and now here's our objection. So paragraph 6, plaintiff does not allege any transactions through a medium other than the internet. While the Pennsylvania Unfair Trade Practices and Consumer Protection Act, UTPCPA, I really much prefer the Attorney General's abbreviation of Consumer Protection Law, governs sales of some goods and services within Pennsylvania generally, the Federal Trade Commission's mail, internet, or telephone order merchandise rule with enabling legislation preempts the application of the Pennsylvania UTPCPA as it applies specifically to the internet-based sales. So what is this saying? Oh, let me put the big one. So what is this saying? What this is basically saying is that I think the summary, layman's summary is you don't have jurisdiction here, Pennsylvania AG, to bring forth this complaint. That yes, there is this law for consumer protection within Pennsylvania, but because all of the sales are over the internet, you don't have jurisdiction. That this should actually be a federal case. So that's their main objection, it seems. By promulgating such a regulation, the FTC, I'm abbreviating some things, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has occupied the field as to internet-based sales and preempted state regulation of internet-based sales. So federal government has jurisdiction. There is a history of significant federal presence as to regulation of the internet and internet-based commerce. Further, application of the UTP-CPA to internet-based sales would constitute state regulation of interstate commerce. This actually has to do with the U.S. constitutional issues, which is the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the right to regulate interstate commerce. And basically, then it gives like a court citation upholding their argument. So their basic argument is like, hey, Pennsylvania AG, this is not your field. This is not your baseball field. Take your bat and go home. You're in the wrong stadium. The next objection, preliminary objection in the nature of a demurrer to count 2, violation of the Federal Trade Commission. And this is kind of the same thing, but basically, I'm going to just skip down to paragraph 17. Plaintiff lacks standing to bring a case of action under the FTC rule. The plaintiff lacks capacity to sue under FTC rule, and this preliminary objection should be sustained. Alternatively, plaintiff has failed to plead facts sufficient to establish standing of plaintiff to sue under the FTC rule. So again, this is kind of jurisdictional, but it's saying basically the Pennsylvania Attorney General hasn't shown that they have standing to sue under the FTC rules. And so, you know, they can't even bring the complaint. Again, they are in the wrong stadium. So count 2 is illegally insufficient and preliminary objection should be sustained. Then it gets down to a couple of other objections, preliminary objections to the complaint. And sorry, my brain just went. I don't know if your brain ever just stalls, but mine stalled. So preliminary objection for failure of pleading to conform to law or rule of court. So these next couple of objections are basically going, your filing isn't complete. It doesn't conform with the law. And so this should be, you know, this is objectionable and should be thrown out because your filing isn't correct. Again, I'm going to skip down to what I think are relevant paragraphs. Well, let me see before I do that. Throughout the paragraph 25, throughout the complaint, allegations are made alleging acts of fraud by defendants which lack particularity to the actions by defendants, such as the pleadings would comply with PA-RCP 1019B. Throughout the complaint, allegations of statements made by defendants, actions taken by defendants, and other averments against defendants lack any temporal reference sufficient to comply with PA-RCP 1019. So basically they're saying, yeah, these examples that you bring lack specificity as to what the defendant actually said or did, and you're not giving us a time frame as to when these things happened. So objection. Now, I'm, again, not a lawyer, just someone who watches a lot of LawTube, but I feel like this kind of objection is one where if it were upheld, that the state could ask to submit a revised complaint or an amended complaint to conform, but you know, they're still objecting. So preliminary objection based on insufficient specificity pursuant to PA-RCP. PA-RCP 1019, I'm at paragraph 30, requires that a pleading state material facts in a concise and summary form and be sufficiently specific to enable each defendant to prepare a proper defense. So there has to be enough information in the complaint for the defendant to say, hey, this is how you got it wrong, and I'm, you know, not liable for all of this. And they're saying that this complaint doesn't have enough information to do that. Skipping down to paragraph 32. Thus, plaintiff fails to state allegations with sufficient specificity to allow each defendant to prepare a defense as plaintiff has failed to differentiate. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Plaintiff makes each and every allegation against defendants, plural. Sorry, let me start over. I read paragraph 30. I'm now going to paragraph 31. Plaintiff makes each and every allegation against defendants, plural, and fails to differentiate between the two as each and every act or omission alleged. So remember that the filing was first put against Sherry Tenney and Tenney Fiber Farms LCC. And it's true, in the AG's filing, in their complaint, every allegation, it says defendant. So they're saying both entities, Sherry Tenney and the LLC, are both responsible for all of this. Paragraph 32. Thus, plaintiff fails to state allegations with sufficient specificity to allow each defendant to prepare a defense as plaintiff has failed to differentiate between defendant Sherry Tenney and defendant Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC. So they're like, we don't know what we defend for whom because you haven't said who's guilty of what. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just someone who watches law too. But it's interesting because Sherry Tenney and Tenney's Fiber Farm LLC are, at the end of the day, one and the same, right? Because Sherry Tenney is the sole proprietor of the LCC. So it's like, well, and she was acting on behalf of the LCC. So it seems like all the allegations would actually pertain to both defendants. In my mind, not being a lawyer, but I could be wrong. The Pennsylvania AG could have royally screwed up their filing. I don't know. 33. Plaintiff also fails to plead sufficient facts to establish an agency relationship with Representative Suzanne Collier. Now, this is really interesting because remember, Suzanne Collier is the person who was speaking to a lot of these customers and kind of in the Demon Troll forums. Susan Collier was often the person referred to as the person stringing customers along until their dispute window with the credit card company had run out, right? And what this filing is saying is that the Pennsylvania AG in their filing haven't established that Suzanne Collier was actually working as an agent of Sherry Tenney. Why does this matter? Okay, so this is something that I basically learned somewhat, a little tiny bit, and a little tiny bit of information is powerful but dangerous, watching the Depp v. Heard trial. But basically, if somebody has an agency relationship with a company, it can be as an employee, that's most common. So if you work for a company, you're their employee, and you're an agent. So let's say you work in a store, an actual brick and mortar retail store selling yarn. You, behind the register, are acting as an agent for the owner. So if you tell somebody, like, we can't, oh, you're bringing us back this yarn because you found out there's like 6 knots in it and that's too many knots in that ball of yarn. If that person, you working as an agent, said, well, I can't accept that return no matter what our policy says, the owner of the store is ultimately responsible for your actions because you are acting in place of that person. And there's various other ways that an agent relationship can be established. Again, not being a lawyer, I feel like this objection is one that could be like cured through an amended complaint, but whatever. It's an interesting, I think, kind of argument because basically Sherry Tenney is claiming that at the end of the day, Suzanne Collier was acting on her own, right? Just rogue. Like you were, and I think on its face, it's kind of silly because it's like Sherry Tenney was directing people to talk to Suzanne Collier, right? So it's just like, I don't know, but it's interesting. But I understand why the defense would make the objection. Plus, again, not being a lawyer, I don't know how much in a pleading like this, how much details they would have to give at this point. But anyway. So paragraph 34, plaintiff fails to plead sufficient facts to allow each defendant to prepare a defense as a consumer A, consumer B, and consumer C were referred to in complaint. Paragraph 41, but lacks date, transaction identification, or sufficient details about orders alleged placed by each consumer. Again, they're saying, look, there's not enough information in your filing for us to even defend against these complaints. So, like, the whole thing should be thrown out. And those are the objections. So, and then the rest of the filing is actually a copy of the AG's filing, because that's what a defendant would do. They would include a copy of the filing that they're responding to. So that's it. I told you, the defense filing was not going to take a lot of time. So basically, there's like 4 objections, right? Lacking jurisdiction, lacking standing, not being specific enough about the complaints for Sherry Tenney to defend herself. Not being, okay, there's 5. Not being specific as to who the complaint is about. Is it Sherry Tenney? Is it the LLC? And then not establishing an agent relationship for the actions of like Suzanne Collier. Those are like the 5 objections. Are they going to work? I have no idea. I suspect not. I usually suspect in these situations, not being a lawyer, that the judge is either going to allow the state to amend any problems with the complaint, or that, because it's just hard to believe that the Pennsylvania AG would screw up so royally that they would bring a complaint where they don't have standing or jurisdiction. But I could be wrong, because I don't know enough about the law. Regardless, for our purposes, as I said 2.5 hours ago, this is a really good case study for us as fiber-verse consumers to be aware of the tactics that scammers, unethical businesses can use to bilk us out of money. Again, not talking specifically about Sherry Tenney here, this part, because Sherry Tenney, these are allegations, they are not proven yet. But broadly, generally speaking, it is a good case study for us to understand and see what the red flags are. If there's no shipping date or return policy, if the shipping date windows and return policies seem ridiculous, run. If items are not being delivered to you in a reasonable amount of time within the shipping window, and they give you a revised shipping date, if they don't give you a revised shipping date, to me, that is like skip to refund. Just give me my money back. If they're not going to give me a revised shipping date, they are going to give you a revised shipping date if it's more than 30 days. You know, you have a right to a refund. Like, these are the things that are important, because I don't want, the thing that upsets me about situations like this, right, with someone who is that it makes us suspicious of all these small businesses and micro sellers who really are acting in good faith and just want to provide a good product because they love the Fiberverse as much as we do. And it just really stinks when somebody kind of comes in, enters the field, and pisses on it, you know? And allegedly, that is what Sherry Tenney has done. I would certainly not, personally, if you ask me for my advice, my opinion, I would not be buying from any of the entities associated with Sherry Tenney until all of this is resolved. That's my opinion. But yeah, so guys, we have made it. We have done it. We have gone through the filing. We have gotten some history. We have gotten a taste of some of the wildness that has gone on with Sherry Tenney and Tenney's Fiber Farm. And we are 2.5 hours in. It actually, to me, went by really fast. I hope it has gone by quickly and entertainingly for you. Try to make it entertaining, but we are ready to wrap up. So what is coming up for my channel in the week ahead? Let me change banners real quick. Oh, I don't have one. I'm going to just hide the banner then. Okay, so wrapping up. I have new videos up always on my channel. Last week, I put up a video about dealing with color bleeding and yarn. If you are interested in it, I actually, in that video, go through the process of pre-washing my yarn and show you how I take like a bullet skein, turn it into a hank, and wash it in order to deal with color bleeding. And it's not terribly, it's only like 20 minutes. It's like one of my shorter videos. Trying to make shorter videos this year. But if you're interested in that video is up. It is part of this year I'm doing a series of videos. Esmeralda, hey, can you announce something? Is there something you'd like me to announce? I'd be happy to announce it, but let me know. So yes, my video, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm tired. Oh yeah, so this year I am doing like a series of videos on color in fiber. It's gonna be a lot about choosing colors, color theory, strategies and such, but there's some technical things as well, like this video I did last week. So that is up. But this coming video that I'm going to come up probably Friday or Saturday of next week, I'm super excited because I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite increase. Yes, I have a favorite increase. Of course I do. It's called the lifted increase. This is my favorite increase, and that video is going to be coming up next weekend. So keep an eye out for that. If you don't know about lifted increases, you're going to learn about it. For single mom knit. Oh, thank you, Esmeralda. Esmeralda is like the Old Knitting Factory has a free 1-week retreat for single mom knitters. Just saw it posted. That is very exciting. If you are a single mom knitter and you need a break, you need a moment of self-care, definitely check that out. I'm assuming that's local in Michigan and includes a cash stipend for childcare. That's amazing. That's amazing. If you are in that area of Old Knitting Factory, check it out for sure. Happy to make that announcement. So yeah, my announcement is, like I said, next week's video is going to be on the lifted increase. I also, by the way, have started work on my beginner tutorial for Tunisian crochet. If you're interested in that at all, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm very excited to start showcasing more Tunisian crochet. And, sorry. I'm going to just put up the messages from Esmeralda if you'd like to read them about the single moms retreat. So, yes, so I'm very excited. Also, let me know in comments or right now. Oh my God, it's in Ireland. Okay, so if you're watching in Ireland, check out the Old Knitting Factory. I love this. I love live stream. You just never know what's going to happen. I'm definitely getting tired because my brain is not processing. My CPU is just like reboot. Esmeralda, Tunisian crochet should not scare you. If you can knit and or crochet, you can definitely Tunisian crochet. Like it is like amaze balls. I love it. But I was going to say, I know. Let me know either in the comments if you're watching on replay or right now in chat before I wrap up. I'm thinking about doing a tutorial on how to fix a bra if the underwire breaks through. I've had this happen to me twice in the past year where the underwire has like just rubbed against the fabric and popped through, and I've actually learned how to repair it. And so I'm thinking about doing a tutorial on it because I just think it's a really good skill to have because, yeah. So let me know if you're interested in me doing that, showing you how I repaired my bra. I have another bra to repair. Let me know if you want to see how I do it. So yeah, that is what's coming up on my channel. And I'm going to keep working on my June Blooms, vest. Like I said, I think I should be done with that by the time of the next Knit Tea Live. And then after that, I'm going to be working, I think, on a pair of socks. I'm really jonesing on a pair of socks. I want to do a pair of socks real bad. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the socks. And I do have a pair of socks in my 2023 projects list that's all ready to go. So I think that's going to be the next cast on. And it is now time for me to cast off the live stream. Thank you so much for joining me today, sticking with me through the 2.5 hours. If you're watching on replay, thank you so much for watching it through. I hope this was entertaining. I hope it was informative. If so, even if it wasn't, please make sure that you give the video a thumbs up and share it with other Fiberverse people who you think might be interested in today's topic, okay? And of course, as always, make sure that you comment. If you'd like to help support my channel besides just subscribing, although make sure that you subscribe to my channel. But if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, down in the description box, there are my affiliate links. If you use one of my links to do any online shopping, I earn a small commission, and this helps support my channel so I can keep doing what I do here. Or you can leave me a super thanks, or you can leave me a tip through Buy Me a Coffee. All those are great ways to help support the channel. But if those aren't options for you, I completely understand. I really do appreciate that you just being here, and a subscribe and a thumbs up is amazing. Like, amazeballs. I'm always kind of amazed, frankly, that people come here and like want to watch me talk for 2.5 hours. Okay, so that is it for me today. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. And as always, I'd watch the brow repair. It's happened to many of us. Yeah, I think it happens to everybody at some point. But thank you for the input. Thank you. All right. Like I said, squirrel. Thank you again for joining me, and happy health and happy making. Bye.